Good morning, everyone. It's Miss Clark, and I am bringing you your Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 lesson. And this is your reading lesson, by the way, and we will be starting off with A Chair for My Mother. So, we're going to be reading the story again, but this time I'm going to do a couple of questions with you, and then you're going to complete the rest. Okay, so that's 3 of them that you get to do on your own. Okay, all right, so here we go. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from the tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work, and sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money out into piles. Some days she has lots of tips, some days she has only a little, then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. All right, so let's look at our first question. What do you think the author is trying to tell you about the characters in the book? What character traits do you think the author admires? Okay, so it sounds like the mother works very hard, right? So we'll say, mother works very hard, and the girl is helpful. Okay, so we've got those 2 character traits, and it seems like that the author admires both of those. Okay, because she included her characters have those character traits. All right, so the next question we're going to look for is, why is the author taking the time to tell you about the fire? Okay, all right, so we haven't gotten to that part yet. We'll keep going. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and they go to the jar. Okay. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to take out all the money and go and buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We're going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our house. All the chairs burned. So did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, she had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside our house stood 2 big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's here, she's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her, but everything else in our whole house was spoiled. Sorry about the silly pop-up. So what was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow, the floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. All right, so this one is asking to describe why has the author described a fire, and then what does the author want you to understand about what can happen when your home catches on fire. Okay, so why did the author take time to describe the fire? Probably because it was so devastating, right? It was Devastating. Okay, and then the second part, what does the author want you to understand about what can happen? Well, when they were crying out for their grandma, they were afraid that she had, perished or died in the fire, right? So you could lose everything, right? Even the ones you love. It can be very serious. I'm going to underline everything because that includes family members too. All right, so go ahead and fill that in. All right, now I'm going to read the rest of the book, and I want you guys to fill in the questions. Okay, so here are the questions you're going to be looking for. So, page 16, which is, I think it's the next page. What message is the author trying to tell you about the community that the little girl, her mother, and her grandmother share? Point to the words in the book that help you identify the author's message. You don't have to point to them. You can kind of like write a couple of them down. Page 28, how did the little girl, the mother, and the grandmother feel at the end of the book? And why was the new chair so important to the three characters? Okay, that one's for the end. And then the characters in A Chair for My Mother had a goal. What was their goal? And what did Vera B. Williams teach you about goals by writing this book? That one you don't really need to know like a page number. That's just your opinion. All right, so I'll go ahead and read the rest, and you're going to fill in the questions later. Okay? So, the first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister Sally had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss Josephine brought pots and pans, silverware, and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. You all are the kindest people, she said, and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over. That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. There's no good place for me to take a load off my feet, she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full, Mama said. My mother brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. We shot through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while they carried it up to the door. Excuse me. We set the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I all sat in it while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. All right, and that's the end. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.